is our furler, and it's hooked to the motor and these gears here. So we're gonna repack these gears with grease. We're gonna pack this with grease, rebuild it and pack it with grease. And so now we have to take down our mainsail because we have to hold this up, and we don't want to be holding the whole mainsail up as we take this off. So now we have to drop our mainsail, and that's right when the wind picks up.
In order to have days like this, you're going to have days like this. This is Tips on Tuesday. We're going to talk about what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Stay tuned so you don't feel like doing this. If you like these videos, please subscribe and give us a like. And if you have anything to add to the conversation or any questions, please leave them below. So the plan is to rebuild the furler and the outhaul on Aquarius. But before we start ripping things apart, I thought you might be interested in how everything works aboard Aquarius, regards to the mainsail. In this photo, you can see that the mainsail is down on the deck. And you can see that with a Dyneema line, I've tied the head of the mainsail to the halyard swivel. And the mainsail halyard is tied to the halyard swivel with a bowline knot. Now that goes up to the top of the mast, and let's take a look at what the top of the mast looks like. Well, we've made it up in the clouds. We're up at the top of the mast. This is about 20 meters up in the air. Now the halyard is tied to the swivel, and then the halyard is routed up over the top of the mast through a few sheaves. The center bar keeps the part of the swivel connected to the halyard from rotating when the furler turns the extrusion. You can see that there is separation between the front of the mainmast and the back of the mainmast. This is to keep the electric wires and the halyard separate from the mainsail as it gets furled and unfurled. Now, let's furl the sail just 90 degrees to show you how things move. So now we turn the furler 90 degrees, and you can see that the halyard didn't move, but the part of the swivel that is tied to the mainsail head rotated with the extrusion. This is because there is a small aluminum part in the swivel that slides up and down the extrusion luff tape channel. This part sometimes wears out or breaks. If it does, the sail might not furl properly, and this could rip the luff tape at the top of the mainsail. Also note that the mainsail luff tape is inside the extrusion luff tape channel. Let's get back down on deck and see where the bottom of the main halyard is connected. You can see that Aquarius has only a half a halyard for the mainsail. The half halyard is connected to the top of a car on a track on the side of the main mast. The pin keeps the car from moving up and down on the track, and this is ideal because we have in-mast furling and we hardly ever take down the main. The track is long enough to apply tension to the halyard and remove the tension with the help of a short tensioning line that connects to the bottom of the car and goes down to the winch on the side of the mast. The track in the car system makes it possible to use only a half a halyard, thus no need to have another full halyard hanging down on the side of the mast. Well, I think you've seen enough. Now let's drop the main.
And the in-mast system just has, what I've got is just a Dyneema line up there, and that's it. All right, and then we loosen this up, and now we can actually drop it. But before we drop it, we've got to get a line on this. And you really have to make sure that this line is perfect before you start, because you don't want to have it all knotted up halfway down. Okay, it should be set. We got a bowline on this side, bowline on this side, and we're just going to let that loosen up. Gotta get that sail out. Okay, now we can drop the sail. That thing's alive. Come here. We got a bat. Hope he's not hurt. But he's actually alive. Ooh. I gotta go get him a home.
Want me to turn this off?
No. We need to film the bat. We can get him to fly away.
Now that we've gotten rid of the bat, there's a few more systems that control the mainsail I'd like to show you. On board Aquarius, we have a simple vang, which is made up of a fiddle block and a fiddle block with becket and cam cleat, and also a little bit of line. The vang helps keep the boom from rising when you're headed downwind. To keep Aquarius sailing quietly, we've attached the fiddle blocks using Dyneema soft shackles. And yes, I know I need a new fiddle block. If I disconnect this Dyneema soft shackle, and then I connect it here, then I've turned my vang into a main boom preventer. Next up is the main sheet. The main sheet starts at the traveler, then it's routed through a few blocks on the main boom, then back to the mizzen mast, and all the blocks are attached either with Dyneema line or Dyneema soft shackles. And then it ends at the main sheet electric winch, and this is the button for the electric winch. The main boom traveler is a tracking car system in front of the cockpit window. The traveler sheet is routed so that the traveler can be operated by a special winch inside the cockpit. The winch has 3 modes: unlocked for movement towards starboard, unlocked for movement towards port, and locked for no movement at all. The topping lift is a line connected from the back of the boom to the top of the mast, and it keeps the boom from falling when the sail is furled. Also, there is a bungee cord inside the boom to keep tension on the topping lift if the boom rises. The outhaul is a car and track system controlled by an electric motor. The car is tied to the mainsail clew with a Dyneema line, and the car is pulled back and forth on the track by a sheet that is routed around a sheave in the back of the boom and the outhaul winch in the front of the boom. Attached at the bottom of the boom, you can see the outhaul motor and gearbox. The motor is controlled in the cockpit by a switch on the control panel. The furler spins the extrusion inside the mast, which furls and unfurls the mainsail. It is powered by an electric motor and gearbox. The motor is controlled in the cockpit by a switch on the control panel.
So if there's an emergency with your main furler, let's say that your motor stopped working or your gearbox was jammed, then what would happen is you would have to come remove the gearbox from the furler. So what you need to do is you need to loosen 4 bolts. This bolt, and there's 2 more identical bolts on this side. Let's see if it's a problem. There we go. I can furl in or take out the mainsail without the motor attached. So now let's just put it back together again. And these bolts, you do not want to tighten them that tight. Just tight enough to give a little bit of friction. So if you tighten these too tight, it will break these. I think they're made out of Delron or something expensive, but it will break these. So don't tighten your screws that tight when you put it back up. That should be tight enough. And that's it. All right, so the other thing, let's say that this motor or this gearbox went out and you had to furl in your mainsail without this working. What you do is you just remove this screw here, because this actually attaches it to the gearbox. And so once you take this screw out, it's not attached anymore. Then your car actually runs free at that point. So let's see. So now you can see it moves a little bit. So now this'll go in and you won't have to worry about your gearbox. So in case of an emergency, if you lose this gearbox, you just take this bolt out. If you lose this gearbox, then you use the winch to furl it in. There you have it. Now you got the emergency procedures that you would use in case anything happened to your mainsail furler.
So that's it for today's tips. And next Tuesday, we are going to start the rebuild of the furler.
Oh, we got this space here to put the oil in later, so we don't have to fill it with grease.
If you like this video, give us a like, down below and click here to subscribe. That really helps us. And if you want to watch more of us, click one of those.
They said it came from Spanish.